Rishabh and yourself, you mentioned COVID and the impact in India. I mean, it affected us a lot in various different ways across the world. It'd be great to hear more about what that was like for you and sort of for this network.
Well, it was something that we didn't know how to counter and react to. And I must congratulate my entire team, Rishabh and everyone over here, because there were some very difficult circumstances and times, especially for the first intervening period of first 3 months where we didn't have clarity as to what will happen. We are a publishing house as well as a television broadcasting stations. So for the first time in the history of newspaper in the last 400 years, the newspaper wasn't printed for about 90 days. And that's because, it could be a carrier as well of the virus. So these were times which were unprecedented. We did not know how to respond. But it was a very good way, to sort of respond to, there's a saying that there's an opportunity in adversity. And that's what happened. People were working from home. They didn't know what was to come out, what will be the future, how things will pan out. But it was the human spirit which really helped us come together as a unit. And we kept all the stations alive. We kept all the websites alive in spite of all the challenges that were there. As a media entity, we were able to reach out to people, and actually we started something where we used the technology to our advantage. We started health OPDs on television because the biggest concern at that point of time was information, and bad information. Mm-hmm. And that was a very good testament to also showcase how digital and social media could be a super spreader for fake news and incorrect information. This was a time where people turned to traditional media, whether it was television, whether it was newspapers. They wanted solid information, they wanted correct information, and that is where the trust quotient came between the traditional media, the so-called traditional media, and people turned to that. And I think that was a very big responsibility on the entire team and the entity, which allowed us to sort of rise to the occasion and be of service to society. This is something which, so let me put it this way. When 400 years ago the newspaper started, then you had the radio, then you had the television, then you had digital media, then you had social media. In this entire journey, I think the world did not change as much as it did in the last 25 years. And that was all because of information. And the information opening up where the contact went away from one entity putting out information to millions of people, from millions to millions of people. And that was a very, very big change, and something which we could use to our advantage to counter what could you do? How could you help? How could you actually bring about the change within the environment during COVID? As a country, the learnings were very different. We had obviously a lot of, country of our size and scale, we had a lot of problems also, but it was the ability to respond to those problems that really set us apart from the others. I mean, we did not know what to expect, but we were very quick in responding to them. So whether it was oxygen, whether it was medicine, I think for the first time, the US imported paracetamol from India. That was again one of those things which you never see in normal times. So the experience was how in a planned way, a determined way, can you actually contain a situation like this. One of the biggest credit goes to the Honorable Prime Minister, who actually spoke out on a televised interview and said that everyone needs to stay indoors. And even before an official lockdown could be imposed, majority of people were restricted to their houses. And that's something which really helped in stopping the spread of the virus itself at that point of time. So it was a culmination of all these factors coming together. But the biggest takeaway from the COVID was that you can never be ready cannot be ready for a situation like this, but you have to be able to react to a situation like this. And that reaction is something that, yes, we are much better prepared for anything like that happens in the future.